In Daniel chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar had another dream that he needed interpreted, and Daniel again delivered a message to the king. However, this time, as opposed to the dream in chapter 2, this message was not one that was pleasant. In fact, Daniel said, "My Lord, may the dream concern those who hate you, and its interpretation concerns your enemies," Daniel chapter 4 and verse 19. The dream concerned Nebuchadnezzar's arrogance. He believed all that he had was due solely to his own power. He completely left God out of the equation, and for this, he was told a hard lesson would be learned. The king would be driven into the field where he would live like a beast for 7 years, till you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of man and gives it to whomever he chooses. Now you would think from his prior experiences with Daniel, he would take heed to Daniel's words and avoid this painful ordeal by acknowledging God. But this was not to be as the dream 12 months earlier had been. For the king boasted, "Is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power and for the honor of my majesty?" Daniel 4 and verse 30. Well, at this time, Daniel's prediction came true. The king was driven into the field. And after his time living as a beast, Nebuchadnezzar learned his lesson. God rules. But what is more amazing than Nebuchadnezzar's stubbornness is the utter foolishness of his son, Belshazzar. He knew of his father's experience, that he lived a life of debauchery and irreverence toward the Almighty. And God informed him through Daniel that the kingdom would be taken away from him, which happened the very night which he received this message, Daniel chapter 5, verses 30 through 31. And there are some valuable lessons that we can learn from this. First, God rules in the kingdoms of men. With all the turmoil and violence that takes place in our world, we can take comfort in knowing that the same God that raised and debased the kingdoms of old is the one who rules today. We do not always understand why certain men are allowed to rule or why particular events occur, but we can be confident that the Creator of the universe is the God who holds every ruler's breath in his hand and who owns all their ways, Daniel 5 and verse 23. Therefore, we need to put our trust in God and not in man. Second, we ought to learn by hearing words of wisdom and admonition. Nebuchadnezzar was told what was going to happen, but he didn't pay heed to it. We are told that we must believe, be baptized, and be faithful, but many will not pay heed to it. The Word tells us that we will all die and be judged. We also know that living a holy life is a blessing, while not living one is a curse. Do we need to experience the bad things in order to fully understand the good? I don't think so. Yet many of us must live unrighteously and suffer before our eyes are opened and realize that there is only one true way to go, and that is to follow God's way. And finally, and very similar to the above, the experience of others ought to sink in and inform our ways. Why is it that we can see so clearly the attitudes and the behaviors of others causing them trouble, but we're completely blind to these things in our own lives? We need to take heed to the examples of those that are around us who are living in rebellion and see the things that are taking place in their lives as a result of that opposition, and not allow them to lead us down that path. There are many things that we can learn from these biblical accounts, but ultimately what we must realize is that God is always in control. God is ruling over all of the kingdoms of this world. God is ruling over our lives. Each and every one of us are subject to Him. Therefore, we must decide today who we are going to serve. Are we going to put our trust in God and serve Him? Or are we going to trust in man and serve him? Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you with a wonderful day.